A recent report by the Bank of England made for very grim reading. They forecast a deep recession this winter due to very high inflation, falling real wages, rising interest rates, and a fall in consumer confidence. Some analysts fear it could be even worse than the Bank of England predict, with the possibility of energy prices rising far higher than the bank predict, and this could cause a real cost of living crisis because it's unprecedented for UK households to be paying up to £5,000 a year in energy bills when in 2021 it was only £1,000. So in this video we'll look at all the short-term pressures pushing the UK economy into recession, but also we will look at why the UK economy has been underperforming so badly since 2008. We'll look at all the long-term issues such as Brexit, productivity, low investment, which are holding the UK economy back and causing it to have a deeper recession than many of its main competitors. The first and most immediate problem facing the UK economy is we've got high inflation, and it's a wrong kind of inflation. What do we mean by that, the wrong kind of inflation? Well, it's caused by cost push factors, rising energy prices, rising prices of food, and rising price of services. This isn't caused by strong economic growth, like for example to some extent in America or the UK in the 1980s. It's caused by a stagnating economy, so we're getting the worst of both worlds, rising prices but falling incomes. And the UK households are seeing the biggest fall in real wages for many years, with real wages falling about 2%. And with inflation forecast to go up from 9% to around 13-14% this winter, things are only likely to get worse. The TUC fear that real wages could fall at the fastest rate for about 100 years, with inflation reaching 13%, but wages not keeping up. And because it's the wrong kind of inflation, another problem is that the Bank of England want to increase interest rates because they realise that inflation is getting out of control. And one problem is that energy prices only account for about 33% of overall inflation at the moment. It's becoming embedded in other areas of the economy. So to bring inflation closer to their target of 2%, the bank are forecasting to increase interest rates. But these interest rates will slow down the economy that is already starting to fall. And this is why it's the wrong kind of inflation, because with monetary policy you can't target both a recession and inflation. You need to choose one or the other. And the Bank of England made it very clear that they're going to target low inflation, even if this means causing a deep recession. And this is quite rare for the bank to speak in these terms. In the recent decade, we've had zero interest rates, even when inflation has increased. But this time the bank realises it's different. Inflation getting close to 10, 11, 12%. They have to act now. But the problem is that as interest rates increase, it will cause a lot of economic problems for households and especially borrowers, because we've become accustomed to interest rates close to 0%. So many homeowners will get a shock when they remortgage and find interest rates have gone up. It will also affect business who are struggling with high costs and low demand. Facing higher interest rates will only cause more problems for them. So these are the main causes of the recession: high inflation, rising interest rates, and nominal wages not increasing. So we're getting a fall in real wages. And this is accompanied with a collapse in consumer confidence, and people's expectations of their personal finances is now worse than in the 2008 crisis. And it's also affecting business because their confidence is low. They're seeing consumers stretched and demand is not growing, so firms don't want to invest. And this is also contributing to lower growth. Now, in the last quarter, we had a very small fall in GDP of 0.1%. But this is maybe a sign of things to come, because new car registrations fell 14% last year. And with all the headwinds of higher energy prices, inflation, falling real wages, falling confidence, rising interest rates, this is only going to make the recession much deeper. So it's a pretty grim situation. But some analysts feel that the Bank of England underestimated how much energy prices may rise if Russia cut off gas supplies this winter or restricted supply severely, gas prices could rise even more. And this mouth-watering figures of UK households having to pay £5,000 a year for energy prices is a real cause for concern, because it's completely unprecedented that households, and I should add firms, have to face such a rapid increase in prices, which accounts for a big percentage of people's disposable income, especially the poor. So this is why the recession is forecast to be so deep. But why is the UK faring worse than its main competitors? Well, ever since the 2008 recession, the UK economy has really struggled to grow. We've had very low growth in productivity. Real GDP has fallen away from its post-war trend growth. And so this has left the UK poorer than it otherwise was forecast to be. And this causes numerous problems, particularly for the government. There's always demands for government spending from healthcare, pensions, ageing population, more sick people. But the tax revenue just isn't rising like it used to, because we've got a flat economy. So we're getting the worst of both worlds. The UK has a high tax burden as a percentage of GDP, but also a sense that public services are falling behind. On top of this, in 2016, the UK, of course, voted to leave the European Union. And ever since then, there have been additional problems to the UK economy. First of all, the pound devalued by about 16% following the vote. And this reflects the worst outlook for the UK economy and UK trade outside the single market and customs union. And this year, the Office of Bureau Responsibility found that Brexit had severely affected UK's trade with our main trading partner, which is hardly surprising given that Brexit has increased the cost and friction of doing trade. And so exporting firms have struggled, and it's been harder to import goods from Europe. And although there have been new trade deals with countries outside the EU, these have in no way compensated for the loss of EU trade. Another reason for the poor productivity in the UK is an unwillingness to invest, and this partly reflects the low growth rates we've seen. Firms don't want to invest when the consumer demand isn't there. Another problem the UK faces is labour shortages. I mean, one bright spot in the UK economy at the moment is falling unemployment, and we're actually quite close to full employment. But this masks other problems, that many firms struggle to fill many labour vacancies. There's a shortage of workers, especially in key areas like in the healthcare sector, picking fruit and veg in the farms. And this is partly related to Brexit not being able to attract workers from abroad, but also there are other underlying issues behind this. One of them is a very worrying increase in long-term sickness, which is causing a fall in the labour force participation rate. There's been more people leaving the labour market, and one of the main reasons is an increase in long-term sickness, with long COVID playing an unfortunate role in this. So this again is going to be another problem for the UK economy. We haven't got the labour to do the jobs that need doing. So it's a very curious situation. We have falling growth but low unemployment. We have demand for labour, but wages are not keeping up with inflation. Another issue faced by the UK is that the weak pound has increased the price of imports. So, for example, if you look at the United States, the price of gas, petrol, has fallen quite a lot since its recent peak. But in the UK, petrol has been much slower to fall because the weakness of sterling still makes it expensive to import petrol from abroad. The UK economy is in a really difficult position because even without rising oil prices, we would be likely heading to a recession anyway. But the prospect of record-breaking gas and energy prices this winter means that many households will have to cut back on many areas of expenditure. So we're likely to see a very significant fall in aggregate demand as firms and households cut back on spending and investment. Yet on top of this, the Bank of England is increasing interest rates to try and tackle inflation. And these interest rates will put further fuel on the fire, causing lower spending and more financial distress, especially for borrowers. All this could cause a fall in house prices, with house price to income ratios close to record levels, over 7.0, which is much higher than previous years. So house prices could fall as interest rates go up. And this might be welcome news to some extent for people having to pay a lot for rent. The fall in house prices usually corresponds to lower consumer spending, a fall in confidence as people's wealth declines and they cut back on spending as a result. It's hard to see any glimmer of hope. Now, fiscal policy may play a role. The new Prime Minister is likely to cut taxes, which will help to some extent increase disposable income. But it's unlikely to be enough to meet the rising energy prices. And also tax cuts only affect those who are working, and many of those who aren't working or long-term sick will be unaffected by tax cuts. And also there's a concern about how much can the government borrow. We'll leave that for another video because it's quite an interesting yet complex case. But overall, it's going to be a very tough winter for many economies, but the UK in particular. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, then please subscribe and give it a like or whatever. And I'll definitely be producing more videos on the UK economy, US economy, and anything else that attracts my interest. And feel free to leave a comment if you've got any questions about economics. Thank you.